It is Friday, May 9th. Happy Friday, everyone. Everyone drop me a happy Friday down below. So let's go ahead and start off with what just shook the global economic order. President Donald Trump's first bilateral trade agreement since returning to the White House is officially signed. And it is also with none other than the United Kingdom, guys. So this deal is a massive win for Trump, for the Trump administration, but more importantly, for American workers and producers. The 10% base tariff, it stays in place, securing billions of dollars in U.S. revenue. And for the first time ever, the U.K. has agreed to slash its own tariffs to just 1.8%. Guys, that's not just a concession. That is a surrender to America First. If you guys are on board with President Trump's America First, drop a quick America First in the comments down below. A lot of people were turning their back when they saw the market turn down a couple weeks ago, right? Well, this agreement cracks wide open entire markets for American goods, beef, ethanol, machinery, chemicals, and a whole heck of a lot more. In fact, it clears out the non-tariff barriers that have been choking U.S. exports for decades. And let's not forget, President Trump's steel and aluminum protections, those are still in place. He didn't give an inch. So this isn't just trade policy anymore, guys. This is economic warfare, and President Trump just took the lead. So how about Trump and the art of the deal? Anyway, so stay tuned, guys, because I want to talk to you about the timing of this new deal and why this new deal sent shockwaves across the globe. Now, if you haven't already, please drop a quick like for the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. So this wasn't just any old handshake deal. President Trump signed this historic trade agreement on the 80th anniversary of World War II Victory Day. Rather significant, in fact. This is the day that we and the UK defeated tyranny together. Now, this is not coincidence. This is strategy. Trump used this moment to remind the world when America and its allies stand together, history changes. He personally thanked the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying that his team got it right. And with this particular agreement, President Trump not only built a key alliance, he showed the world that the U.S. is back on top. Now, this move wasn't just about tariffs. This move here, guys, this was a global message. The days of America being exploited, they're over. But that was actually just the start. In fact, I need to dive into this new deal with you guys about, which is part of President Trump's global trade war reboot, and how this is actually going to tie it all the way back to Liberation Day. Now, if you could go back in time and avoid the worst financial mistake of your entire retirement, would you? Just yes or no will do. Well, that's what people say after they talk to Chapter. They're the team that makes sure you don't get locked into any kind of Medicare plan that drains your wallet or cuts out your doctor. Julie in Kansas, $400 per year saved. Jamie in Texas, $600 back into her Social Security. That's huge. No fees. In fact, their service is totally free. There's no pressure, just one smart choice. So give our friends over at Chapter a call. Their phone number is 909-563-8279, or you can go to askchapter.org/Ron. Your future self will thank you. Give them a call right now. So now, here's what a lot of people are missing, okay? This UK deal, it's not just a one-off victory. In fact, it's the first domino in President Trump's worldwide economic reset. Now, remember, for decades, America has been getting ripped off. We've been charged these outrageous tariffs by different countries that got full access to our markets, while we couldn't even get our milk or butter through their borders. Does that sound fair to you guys? For example, Canada, they've slapped U.S. dairy with 241% to 298% tariffs for over 40 years. Meanwhile, we charge them nothing. Why were we ever even doing that is beyond me. Well, President Trump campaigned on fixing that exact kind of scam. And now with this deal that basically he's proving it wasn't just talk. This is the first major win in what he's calling Liberation Day. This is a full-scale dismantling of the global trade system that crippled American industry. And The media is actually saying that it was impossible. You remember that? Oh, he'll never be able to do it. They had no faith in Trump. Or maybe they were just trying to convince the American people he couldn't do it. They laughed at him. They said foreign leaders would never work with Trump again. But here we are. The UK just blinked first. Well, if you thought that was a big win, wait until you hear what President Trump did next. Well, because he's not just stopping a trade. In fact, he's calling his shot. He's telling Americans to prepare for something huge. Now, comment down below what you think that huge thing that President Trump was preparing to share with Americans is. Do you think it has anything to do with the Doge dividend stimulus checks? Maybe no taxes, maybe an elimination on income taxes? Maybe no taxes on tips, no taxes on Social Security? What do you think it is? Maybe it has nothing to do with money or the economy at all. Anyway, I want to hear what you guys think because that information is about to drop. Well, as soon as the deal was signed, I don't even think that the ink was dry yet. President Trump went live with his press conference and he didn't hold back. His messenger, or the messenger really doesn't matter. What was the real message? Buy stocks now. Now, let me ask you guys, are you invested in the S&P 500? What stocks do you recommend buying right now? I want to hear from my community right now. President Trump said this isn't just a strong economy, it's a launch pad. His exact words, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. Here's the kicker. He's not wrong. Gas prices. How much is gas in your area, guys? Gas prices have plummeted to $1.98 in some areas. Grocery prices are finally falling. Energy costs are down. And jobs are soaring. All while billions of dollars in new tariff revenue are flooding back into the U.S. He's not just predicting an economic boom. He's orchestrating one. And it's happening right in front of our very eyes. So brace yourself because, while Trump was building the strongest recovery in years, one man has been basically standing in the way. And President Trump, he took him on live in the most brutal public takedown that we've seen probably all year. All right, so now that President Trump has basically set off all sorts of fireworks, Trump was actually scoring major wins overseas. Jerome Powell, at the same time, he was back home doing what he does best, stalling progress. Anybody a fan of Jerome Powell? If you feel like Jerome Powell is a great Fed chair, just go ahead and say, Jerome Powell is awesome. But if you think that Fed Chair Jerome Powell should step down, type in step down. So in a press conference just a couple hours after the UK deal was signed, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he admitted the economy is solid. He admitted that the economy was solid, that unemployment was low, and that inflation is easing. But then he refused to lower interest rates again. Trump was livid. Trump was pissed. You can see it in his face, really. He's been calling for rate cuts from the Fed for weeks, warning that Jerome Powell's stubbornness is choking the economy. Mortgage rates remain high, small businesses can't grow, and middle-class Americans are stuck paying more to survive. Now, I want to ask you guys, do you think Jerome Powell should be cutting interest rates right now? Or do you agree with Jerome Powell that he should further delay these cuts into the future? Now, let's be honest, guys. Jerome Powell has no excuse left. The numbers pretty much speak for themselves. So Trump, in the true Trump fashion, he called him out directly, saying that this isn't economics anymore. This is personal. He accused Jerome Powell of having a petty partisan grudge against Trump, and he made it very clear. This is sabotage to the American comeback. And the truth is, guys, Trump, he's not just angry about today's interest rates. He is planning, what he's planning could theoretically rewrite the national debt and slash our deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars almost overnight. So you got to hear this next part here, guys. And this is where it gets wild. Trump isn't calling for rate cuts as a personal or political stunt. He's making the most economically strategic move of the decade. let's go ahead and break it down for a second. All right. Gas at $1.98. Grocery prices are down. Employment's way up, right? Billions in tariff revenues flowing in, right? The Fed's job is to adjust interest rates to support a stable, growing economy. But the economy is already strong, and Jerome Powell is doing nothing. In fact, his refusal is actually hurting growth. Trump pointed out exactly what this means. Jerome Powell isn't responding to data, he's responding to Trump. And so this is the Federal Reserve becoming political and punishing everyday Americans just to block President Trump's success. It's kind of dirty when you think about it. So Trump isn't just demanding action. He's laying out the why. Lowering interest rates now would turbocharge business investment. It would unlock credit, whether it's business credit, personal credit, and it would actually put more money back into your hands right when the country is primed for explosive growth. But hold up. This battle isn't just about growth. It's also about survival. Because what most people don't even realize is that $8 trillion is on the line this year. And Jerome Powell could very well cost us everything if he doesn't act fast. And that shocking detail, well, we need to talk about that, don't we? Well, here's the part that's probably going to leave your jaw on the floor. And for good reason. It's a piece of the puzzle that the media is completely ignoring. Basically, this year, 2025, the United States has, $8 trillion in national debt that has to get refinanced. That's not a typo. $8 trillion needs to get refinanced. And here's where Jerome Powell's defiance becomes dangerous, because that $8 trillion, it's going to get refinanced at whatever interest rate the Federal Reserve sets. Now, think about that, right? If Jerome Powell keeps interest rates high, that debt will cost hundreds of billions of dollars more to finance. That money comes directly from you and me as the taxpayers. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? But if Jerome Powell were to lower those interest rates, it would lower the amount that we have to pay. But if Trump gets his way and interest rates are lowered, the U.S. could shave off hundreds of billions of dollars in interest payments overnight. Overnight, guys. Now, it would be one of the biggest fiscal wins in U.S. history, would it not? So when Trump is pushing for these rate cuts, it's not just for optics. This is not just so, Trump can be like, oh, I got to win. No, there's a point behind this. There's a financial benefit to doing this. It's a precision strike to slash the deficit, free up resources to recharge the economy. And think about this. Joe Biden back in the day, when we had 2% interest rates, you could actually get a home for 2%. Why didn't they refinance the debt then? You got to wonder. And Jerome Powell, this guy's standing in the way, not because of economics, but because of ego and politics. But Trump is not leaving this to chance. In fact, Trump is already drawing the line right now. And what he's threatening to do if Jerome Powell won't cooperate, well, let's just say it's going to shake up Washington like never before. Now, enough is enough. That is what President Trump is saying. And honestly, how can you blame him, right? He demanded immediate interest rate cuts, and he's made it very clear. If Jerome Powell won't act, it's time to replace him. Comment down below if you think Jerome Powell should be replaced. You could just say replaced or whatever. Well, Trump's message is blunt. We need a Federal Reserve chair who serves the American people, not the elites. We need a Fed chair that supports the America First agenda, not the status quo that's been bleeding the country dry. And let's be clear, guys. Instead of refusing to cut interest rates in the middle of a boom while debt costs are skyrocketing, think about it. This is horrible policy. This is bad policy. It's reckless. It's un-American. And It's also undermining the will of the people who gave Trump a landslide mandate to fix this economy in 2024. This Jerome Powell guy, he's almost as bad as some of these radical judges, right? If Jerome Powell won't do his job, then is it time to find somebody else who will? Well, of course, we need to tie all this together. I know we talked about several different things. The war between Trump and the Fed really isn't just a policy fight. In fact, it's the latest front in the culture war between American workers and globalist elites. So hang on with me, guys, because at this point, let's just go ahead and call it what it is. This isn't just a disagreement over interest rates. Guys, this is a battle for the soul of the country. President Trump's out here fighting to unleash the American economy. He wants to empower workers. He wants to shrink the deficit. But standing in his way are the same entrenched forces who've profited from failure for decades. You got these unelected bureaucrats, these corporate media folks. You got these globalist economists, and of course, we can't forget about Jerome Powell himself, right? Of course not. And don't forget about the progressives. They're out here losing their minds. Don't forget about the AOCs, the Chuck Schumers, the Jasmine Crotch Rockets, the Maxine Waters, the Nancy Pelosi's, right? They're all screaming that Trump is trying to politicize the Fed. But what they're really angry about is that he's winning. And he's doing it without permission. Comment down below if you think Trump is winning. For years, the left has defended bloated bureaucracies and weaponized institutions like the Fed to push their own agenda. But now Trump is flipping the table and all of a sudden they're crying foul? No. The real politicization is Jerome Powell ignoring the data just to block Trump's success. That's the real issue. That is why Americans are fed up right now. Pun fully intended. Yes. I hope y'all got the joke. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's take a quick look at the other side of the coin, right? Because there's always two sides of the coin. There's always two sides to a loaf of bread. There's no piece of paper that exists that only has one side. There's two sides to everything, right? Have you ever seen a one-sided coin? I haven't. Anyway, Trump is rebuilding America from the ground up. Wouldn't you say, right? Biden's entire legacy and his own family is collapsing in real time. Now, I want you to remember just a few months ago, Biden and the Democrats, they left behind this wrecked economy. Inflation was sky high. Gas was unaffordable. We had $7, $8, $9 a gallon for gas, depending upon what state you lived in. And jobs were vanishing. But now, gas is under $2 a gallon. Groceries are coming down. How much are eggs in your area, by the way? I'm starting to see some eggs come down. They're high. Eggs are high, but they're a lot lower than where they had been. Let me know what eggs prices are looking like in your area. Groceries are coming down. Jobs are surging, all under Trump. Meanwhile, you got Biden's family empire falling apart. Hunter's cash flow is gone. Biden Inc. is drying up. And they're scrambling for interviews and book deals just to try to make ends meet, just to try to stay afloat. Well, Trump's Truth Social post pretty much says it all. No inflation, energy down, mortgage rates dropping. We're just getting started. And here's the brutal truth. One man is fixing America. And the other, well, he can't even fix his own family's personal finances. So here's where we're at right now. Trump just landed a massive global win with the UK, set off a new economic boom, and delivered a public beatdown to Jerome Powell that exposed pretty much everything wrong with how Washington works. He's not just rebuilding the economy, guys. He's dismantling the system that broke it. And if Jerome Powell doesn't step up, well, President Trump's ready to clear the deck and pretty much finish the job. One corrupt institution at a time. The America First economic revival is here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's only just beginning. Now, if you're fired up right now and you want to see more of the truth, drop a comment down below. Hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the bell notification turned on so you do not miss what's coming out next. Because if you thought that this was big, guys, wait until you see what President Trump's planning next. It's going to be historic. So anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Thank you as always. Don't forget to give our friends over at Chapter a call and ask them, hey, Ron told me to call you to see how much money you could save me on Medicare. And all I ask is that you come back to this video in the future and just comment how much they were able to save you. I'd love to hear how well Chapter has taken care of you. Anyway, guys, happy Friday. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.